Okay, hiya. Pardon my reading, but I haven't a teleprompter. If our 250-year experiment in democracy is to be a success, we are long overdue to rid ourselves of a pair of unjust institutions rooted in slavery, even medievalism. First up, we share the death penalty with no other modern industrial nation on earth. 23 states and the District of Columbia have abolished this barbarism. 27 states, the federal government, 3 prisoners. The U.S. military, 10 prisoners, last execution, 1961, yet retain it. Of the 2,100 men and women on our nation's death rows, about 100 have proven innocent at any given time, spending as long as 39 years caged before set free. Since 1973, there have been 202 exonerations, typically because of flawed evidence, recanted or biased testimony, or institutional pressure to close a case. In other words, justice be damned, there are careers at stake. For every 8 people on death row, 1 is found innocent and exonerated. Not much of a batting average. Hundreds of others at any given time are over-sentenced, underscoring that there is no such thing as equal justice under the law. No millionaire accused of murder has been executed, which tells you all about our alleged equitability. Money alone buys justice, the best counsel. Consider the innocent people put to death over our 2.5 centuries. If 1 innocent person is executed, we failed. We're a sham, and all are culpable. Every study shows the death penalty is no deterrent. Even the opposite. The simple and weak-minded reasoning, if the state can kill, so can they. The death penalty sending a message of validation as strong as any violent video game. We incarcerate a greater percentage of our population than any nation on earth, yet have the highest rate of recidivism, and that includes third world countries. The United States has the highest rate of murder of any industrialized country, the highest homicide level of any G7 member. What has the death penalty done for you? Do you feel safer walking the streets of London, Madrid, Lisbon, Rome, Copenhagen, Paris, Berlin, Stockholm, or Miami, Memphis, Baltimore, St. Louis, Philadelphia, Richmond, Milwaukee, Minneapolis? This is as much of an intermission as you're going to get. Iran, Saudi Arabia, Pakistan, Yemen, China, North Korea still execute those under 18. Young people, children, kids. Until 2005, so did the United States. As recently as 1998, We carried out the only 3 judicial executions of juveniles in the world. Bankrupt politicians appeal to the ignorant and fearful by proclaiming tough on crime because they support the death penalty. What crap. Justice and money are saved when we incarcerate, not execute. Because it cost us beleaguered taxpayers over 5 times as much to try a capital case than to impose life without parole, even if no monies earned by the accused go toward restitution of the victim's family. If murder is the most heinous of crimes, what is it when 12 citizens deliberate, then pull the switch or administer the lethal injection? Sounds like premeditated murder to me. Why do we want to become murderers? What is it in our national character? 2 wrongs never create a right. Supreme Court Justices Thurgood Marshall and William O. Douglas opposed capital punishment on moral grounds, adding that it was cruel and unusual punishment, a position shared by Amnesty International, the Catholic Church, the Green and Democrat parties, among others. The American Bar Association and the United Nations Commission on Human Rights have both called for an end to the death penalty. Bakre Wali Najai, a former Amnesty International senior official, concluded that in the United States, death sentences continue to be marked by arbitrariness. Race, ethnic origin, and economic status appear to be key determinants of who will and who will not receive a sentence of death. In 1992, Episcopal Bishop William E. Swing of San Francisco pleaded that the loathsome Robert Alton Harris's death sentence be commuted to life imprisonment. Well, summing it, if someone murdered my wife or child, my reaction as a man would be to kill him with my own hands. But the idea of a church or any civilizing society is to raise us all above our individual base desires. The United States ranks 12th in adult literacy among developed nations. Nothing to write home about. The New Yorker reports U.S. literacy peaked back in 2012. Our K through 12 trails at least other 16 modern industrial democracies. Our teachers, on average, are paid less than entry-level junior executives at R.J. Reynolds or Philip Morris. Shows you our priorities. Despite an ounce of prevention, cheaper and more effective than a ton of non-cure. Against the death penalty, Voltaire, Victor Hugo, the Shelleys, Robert Louis Stevenson, Mark Twain, George Bernard Shaw, Albert Camus, Clarence Darrow, Ramsey Clark, Chekhov, Robert Heinlein, Elie Wiesel, Nat Hentoff, Supreme Court justices, including Stevens, Powell, Blackmun, Breyer, Ginsburg, Kennedy, O'Connor, Scalia, Louis Brandeis. Physicists and humanitarians Albert Einstein, Carl Sagan, Stephen Hawking, Neil deGrasse Tyson. For death, Donald Trump, J.D. Vance, Sarah Palin, the late bottom feeder Rush Limbaugh. There's a 10-minute, 37-second courtroom scene here on YouTube that will drive home the repugnance of the death penalty. Orson Welles is Clarence Darrow in 1959's Compulsion, a true story. The other, and I'll make it short and sweet, institution, this one a hangover from slavery, if ever, the Electoral College, a 1787 sop to slave owners, bolstering a southern state population despite the majority of their inhabitants counting as 3/5 of a man. They shot themselves in the foot. For the first 32 of our Constitution's 36 years, the slave-owning Virginian was our president, the only exception being one-term John Adams of Massachusetts, who opposed slavery. 5 presidents lost the popular vote, but wound up in the White House, solely because of the Electoral College. 2 in recent history. George Bush Jr. in 2000, despite Al Gore winning by 500,000 votes. Donald Trump in 2016, despite Hillary Clinton receiving nearly 2.9 million more votes. Well into a new century and millennium, time to get rid of this holdover from slavery and let the popular vote be the last word, as it is in all of our elections, from town council choice to gubernatorial and U.S. Senate contest. Banishing these 2 inhumane, unjust, unfair, demented relics, may we embrace a just and fair future. And I hope to see you at the quincentennial.